Nova Institute is completely focused on bio-based economy, and in this field especially on bio-based chemicals and materials. And we're giving support on feedstock, on economy, markets, environmental issues, dissemination, and also on the political framework. Now, this is an important question, but I think there are two things to keep in mind. One is the chemical industry, the demand is much smaller than the fuel sector, so we have not the same demand, not at all. If we remember that only 5 to 10% of the crude oil go into chemicals, this is a huge difference. The other thing is that we think that biomass is not so limited as often discussed, but biomass should be go to the right application, to applications with high value, where you can make from small biomass a lot of value for environment, also for the companies. And this is much easier with materials and chemicals than with fuels. Fuels are depending on subsidies today and also tomorrow. And so we think chemicals and materials are not really an add-on. They could also be an alternative to fuels. And we expect after 2020, already right now, where the first generation biofuels are capped to 7%, that the investment in fuels will be very low. We see in some sectors already a decrease of production, and this free biomass could surely better used for chemicals and materials. Yes, we just made a study on that. It's not easy to sum the study up in 1 minute, but we have still options to have more agricultural land without taking rainforest or protected areas, of course. We will also have yield increase. It's ongoing since 50 years and there is no end in sight. So we expect that the biomass production on our planet can be much higher than today. Also, when we are able to decrease the losses in the food chain, for example. Today we lose about 30% in the food chain, and it can be reduced to about 10 or 15. That would set free a lot of biomass. We can use better use of byproducts, and perhaps we can also reduce our meat consumption. From the whole biomass on our planet is 12 billion tons dry matter. 58% is going to produce meat and milk and cheese. And so this is the main problem. Biofuels, for example, are about 2%. Yeah? So when we would change our diet a little bit, that would be set free a lot of biomass. So what we think, of course, food and feed is first, of course, but when we make the right allocation of biomass and we can be more efficient in the value chain, then we have no limit in biomass in the next 20, 30 years. And parallel, we have also new technologies like the direct utilization of CO2. This is especially a nice technology, so it's with solar to fuel, solar to liquid, solar to gas. And this is a very good opportunity for fuels. So I expect that in the next 10, 20 years, more and more fuels are produced directly from CO2, and the biomass will more used for chemicals and materials because this is a much higher value add. And also the CO2 reduction per hectare is also often higher with chemicals and materials. So I see a very interesting picture for the future. The only problem is that this is happening mainly outside Europe. This is for me a big problem because Europe has biomass. It's only a little bit too expensive because of over-regulation of the agricultural sector and because of wrong allocation. In Europe we are supporting only the use of bioenergy and biofuels. We have no incentives at all for other applications. And if you look to US, to Brazil, to Asia, they really do it differently meanwhile. They have more incentives also for chemicals, and so we are lacking a little bit behind in Europe. Yeah, of course. On the one hand, it will store CO2 over a certain period that fuels energy cannot do. And on the other hand, by substituting some petrochemicals or petrochemical plastics, they also have a direct positive effect. So if you produce, for example, polypropylene from crude oil or from biomass, like the Brazilian company Braskem is doing it, then you have the footprint of this polypropylene is about 30% lower, coming from biomass and from petrochemicals. And in addition, you store a certain while, so the crops absorbing the CO2 from the atmosphere and store it in the polymer. The polymer is used for 10, 20 years, and then after this time it's released. If you look to fuels, it's immediately released after use. So they have a storage effect, and you have the direct substitution of the polymer. And in addition, if you use something as a material, you can also cascade it. So you can have a sequential use that is first polypropylene, then you recycle the polypropylene, then you can recycle again. So you can even substitute with this biomass-produced polymers different kind of petrochemicals and polymers. So at the end, there's really more benefit than with fuels, but the existing emission trading system is not taking this into account. So we also have to change some worldwide regulations that we also can give a value to this opportunity to substitute petrochemicals and materials by biomass. This is not accounted yet. It depends. When you look to the big chemical companies, they would like to have some raw material commodities. So they would like to have, for example, biogas or palm oil. So they would like to have a very few new commodities to substitute crude oil and natural gas. But in materials, you have also options for SMEs, for other concepts. For example, you can also grow fiber crops like flax and hemp for insulation material or for the composite material. You have specific crops to produce rubber. So you have at the end in the material sector, you can use 30, 40 different crops where you use the specific biomolecules for your materials and chemicals. Where in fuel you only produce biodiesel and ethanol and biogas, so only 3 limited products. And so the danger of only doing it in monoculture is higher. But if you look to the big chemical industry, I think it will be not so different. But for the SMEs having specific processes, they need sometimes specific crops, which today have only a very small area, and this area could expand and give also some to agro-biodiversity to have more and different crops on the fields. This is much more possible with material use than with energy.